The Almighty King basked in the bath with his servants all around, giving him his fruit and throwing incense into the bath. He saw himself as the king, the leader of his people, and with that pleasure, with that desire, he fought to bring his kingdom to the ultimate of victory. But there was one kingdom in particular that posed a mystery, a race of ancient beings that no king before him or no predecessor before him could conquer. So he looked up as this mighty general that was standing beside him, and he said to him, "Has the prisoner said anything?" The mighty general looked down at him, saw his big belly sticking out of the water, and the servants handing him a big, juicy chicken leg, and he bummed it in his mouth. The general didn't like the king that much. He was always disgusted by his treatment of women and how he ate, but he did enjoy the wars that he brought. So with a deep, shallow voice, he said, "We have the prisoner in the dungeon and we're doing all we can to torture her, but unfortunately we haven't received any information." The king brushed his moustache and stroked his beard and basked in the warmth a little bit some more. And he said, "You keep on it, I will be down there shortly." With that, the king's general departed, leaving him alone with his lady slaves who stroked his hair and massaged him from behind. The king had a few issues during the day and he wanted to be alone. With a wave of his thick, fatty hands, he waved everybody away, and then they all departed, all alone in the great bath. The king contemplated his next move to rule the kingdom, which was a thorn in the side for many generations. If he could conquer that land, he will be seen as the great king. And if he could conquer that land, he will be seen as the king that brought in tremendous amount of wealth for his country. But first, he had to break that prisoner that was down in the dungeon, because she held the key to all the information that his armies would need. She was the princess of that land, and he was going to break her no matter what he had to do. His generals tried their best, but he had a few tricks up his sleeve, and he was going to pay her a little visit after his lovely bath. But he felt eyes lurking in the water. He wasn't too sure what it was. He looked around, but there was nobody there. He thought nothing of it at first, so he played with the wooden duck that some child made for him, bobbed it up and down in the water. Then it disappeared, like it had been grabbed under the water. He stood back in a little bit of shock, and then a face started to appear out of the water, slowly raising up. He was shocked. He sent back onto the seat that he was, and he leaned back, and a figure of the woman slowly dissolved out of the water. Her naked form had an altogether pleasing sensation, but he was scared. How did she get there, and what was going on? She smiled as his grotesque form shivered in the water, and she said, "You will not get your hands on my kingdom." Suddenly she runs forward like a tsunami, engulfing its prey and dragged him deep under the water. And then the water was calm and silent, with no trace of the king whatsoever. The servants rushed into the bath, and they all stood around the edge trying to find out what happened. Some of them jumped in to see if they can save the almighty king, but alas, his body wasn't there. They couldn't find him. They had absolutely no idea what had happened to him. So, for days on end, there was a massive search through the kingdom to try and find out where the king had gone. But strangely and mysteriously, he had disappeared. The army scoured the land for days trying to find the king, but they were unable to find him. The army didn't really put that much of an effort in anyway to try and find the king, because you see, he ruled his people and the army with an iron fist. And they were not really energetic to find him. He may be the great almighty king, but when he had disappeared, the people rejoiced and celebrated in their newfound freedom. The general still wanted to know what happened, so he walked down into the dungeon to question the one person who may help him, which was the princess. But when he opened that door, the princess wasn't there. So it all brought to light the rumors about her people. And as he was in deep thought, he looked across the room and he saw a trickle of water flowing out of the wall and along the floor. He thought maybe, just maybe, the rumors were true and the princess was the mysterious water princess from the kingdom. And with that, he left for a new and unknown future.